You can just move your head.
Bit,
Yeah, that's okay.
So I'm not like, I did this and this and this.
Okay. Hi, my name is Delaney Schlesinger-Devlin, and today I'll be interviewing Quinn about their co-op here in the OKL.
Hi, I'm Quinn Ritzhaupt. I'm a third year at Antioch. I use any pronouns, and in fall 2021, I co-opted as the editor of The Record, which is Antioch's newspaper, and as an archive assistant in the Olive Kettering Library.
To start off, what is The Record?
The Record is Antioch College's student-run publication. It's a newspaper. It runs quarterly.
What is the OKL?
The OKL stands for the Olive Kettering Library, which is Antioch College's library. It is the best place on campus.
I would definitely agree because we're sitting here now.
I love her.
Which co-op did you do first, The Record or the OKL?
I did them concurrently. I did them at the same time. I got clearance to do two jobs for one co-op, so I did both of them.
Let's start with The Record. So what were your responsibilities? What was your job title? What were the things you did day to day?
Sure, I'm the print editor for The Record. I'm mostly dealing with people's submissions. We run completely on a freelance basis, so people are free to submit things all the time. We don't have like hired staff really. So people will submit stuff to me. I get to edit them, look at them, go over it with the student. A lot of it is keeping a Google Drive organized, which is ridiculous. And then also I write a lot of stories myself. I do journalism, so some of that is going out to events or talking to people, interviewing people, getting stuff together. We put together the paper. I work with Loretta Phillip, who is also in my class here. She's our layout editor. She's amazing. She puts together the paper, so we work together pretty tightly. Yeah, that's what it's like.
How long have you been doing this, not just as a co-op?
It's been a year now, so we started back in spring 2021, so we've come around to a full year.
What was your job here in the OKL?
I worked as the archive assistant. I worked with Scott Sanders, who's our archivist. He's super cool. Most of what I was doing was microform and microfilm preservation, so I was dealing with film reels from the 50s that had photographs of letters from the 30s that I was preserving. When film gets old, holes start getting eaten in it, and it's really bad. So my job was to preserve it before it's completely ruined and unreadable.
So what do you mean preserve it? Like, what did you do?
I work on this ancient machine called a microform machine. It's so old, and there's like a little thing, and it has a light under it. It's kind of like a projector box almost, and you hook the film up to it, and a light shines under it, and it goes onto a computer screen, a vertical computer screen, where I had to adjust light levels, contrast, sharpness, all of that, straighten things, just try to make things that are, almost 100 years old look readable again, and then save it all to a PDF on the computer so it can be preserved forever.
So why did you choose to co-op at The Record and at the OKL?
Sure. Well, the OKL one is because I'm majoring in archival studies and material preservation, so it kind of made sense to have a co-op where I'm doing what I'm doing as a career, basically. And I've been working at the OKL since my first year here, so it kind of just made sense. I wasn't really comfortable going off of campus yet with COVID and everything, so I was looking for a local co-op. With The Record, it kind of feels less like a job and more of like a responsibility, where it's has been put into my and Loretta's hands. And
who did you primarily work with while you were in the OKL?
I was working almost exclusively with Scott because I was kind of cut off from the front desk. There were Emily Samborski, our library director, was around. Sandy Coulter, of course, was around. But it was a really independent job. I wasn't around a whole lot of people.
What was your signature assignment when you were in the OKL?
I ended up preserving over 1,000 pages of letters. So I wrote a paper where I broke down the statistics of what I had rescued, the year range for those, and then just kind of a reflection paper on it. Same thing for The Record, other than putting The Record out.
Did you find anything when you were working in the archives that you thought was really interesting that you wish people would look at with you?
It was kind of an interesting thing to do because a lot of these things that I was preserving was really just normal stuff, you know what I mean? So a lot of it was, the secretary messaging our president at the time, who was Algo D. Henderson, and nothing super exciting. There was talks about the railroad that used to be out in front of Maine, and then also there was a workers' comp report from the mid 30s where a guy was I fell down and I got hurt, and that was pretty funny. But it's not. I guess it depends on what people's concept of interesting is. For me, I find a lot of value in looking at that kind of stuff, whereas regular people, the secretaries and all the dudes that were just around. But there was some stuff from Arthur Morgan, famed Antioch president. So I was kind of preserving stuff off the tail end of his presidency into Henderson's. So that was interesting to see his own writings and stuff like that.
So why do you want to go into archiving? Why do you want to work in a library? Why is that interesting to you?
Sure. I was homeschooled, and my mom always kind of imbued this love of history in me. And I guess like when I was younger, I never thought that you could do anything with a history degree other than like be a professor or like a teacher, and I never wanted to be a teacher. So then when I came to Antioch, I had a different major entirely, and then I met Scott, and I was like, holy shit, this is like the coolest thing ever. Like he's out here preserving it hands-on, not just writing textbooks or like teaching people stuff, which is valuable too. But I guess for me, it's just, it humanizes things so much. You know what I mean? When you're reading like a history textbook, I feel like it can be so like bland, and you're just like, okay, like that was a person. But when you're like holding things that people have touched, or you're like looking at things people have written, or like, just reading people's actual things, it like makes everything feel like, I mean, it's tangible now. You know what I mean? Like history is so important.
Would you say that you kind of figured that out while you were here, like at Antioch?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I always loved history, but like, I didn't know people did this kind of stuff. Yeah, I'd never have seen an archive like Antiochiana or anything like that. Like I loved hanging out at the library in like my hometown and like looking at their genealogy stuff. Antioch changed my whole thing.
Can you describe like who Scott Sanders is, like what his role is, his relationship to you?
Scott Sanders, he's the coolest. He is the coolest. He's the archivist at Antioch. He's been working here for like 30 years. He is just so cool. I kind of worked with him by chance. I had just wanted to work at the library, and then our director at the time sent me upstairs, and I was like, okay, I guess. And I met Scott, and he's just been so cool. The best guy to talk to if you're bored. He has so many neat stories, and he can share so much wisdom. And he's really funny. He's so funny. He cracks me up all the time. He's just a great conversationalist, great storyteller, incredible archivist. He's the best.
And what is his like relationship to you? Is he an advisor, a mentor, just someone that you
He's
enjoy?
He's a mentor. He's a friend, I think. I think I could call him a friend. I wondered if he would agree with me, but I would call him a friend.
I think he would agree with you. I think so. How do you think your co-ops have impacted like your degree, your senior project, those sort of things?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm doing archives here as my major, so having an archives co-op again is great. I guess it just really like kind of solidifies my like belief in like that's what I want to do with myself for the rest of my life, which is crazy to think about because I'm only 20. But like you have to be thinking about what you want to do forever. The record's really cool. The record's a really cool thing where it keeps me in touch with like the community. Kind of has nothing to do with my major, but the archive thing, like it really has solidified what I'm up to.
What advice would you say to people who are about to go on their first co-op or who are just like interested in what co-op is?
Yeah, enjoy it. If you're going on your first one, it's kind of scary. I mean, I guess it depends on if you're co-oping on campus or Alpha campus, but enjoy it. I love co-op terms way more than study terms. There's so much to learn, so much to value. Don't hold yourself to like a strict like this is what I'm doing. I think it's good to branch out. Take a co-op that isn't in your major too. Like I did the record, and it's cool. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing here.
What would the benefit be to co-op on campus versus off campus? Like what did you see as a positive to that?
Sure. I mean, for the record, you kind of have to be on campus. There's no way that I could keep my finger on the pulse if I'm not around doing it. But also, like I talked about earlier, I'm afraid of COVID. I'm scared of getting sick. So part of why I wanted to stay on campus was that. Also because I know that my time at Antioch is limited. And I think that staying on campus for those extra few quarters that I would rather like that I would be on off campus otherwise was really important to me, to stay around people I love and be able to do a class also like while co-oping too was really important to me. And
Nice. I think that's everything.